I call the Honourable Phil Heatley.
Could I move that the question be now put?
I'll call Lianne Dalziel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it is important that I follow on from my colleague, because I think that one of the serious issues that the government has failed to stand up and address tonight, I think that the opposition, the government, they'll be the opposition. I think that the government are being totally unfair and unreasonable about this particular piece of legislation, because they are introducing it at the same time that they are reducing entitlements for victims in other areas. And so it is ironic indeed that we are debating a bill which takes a $50 levy off people who are offenders, but let's look at who is actually going to pay this. Because what I think is extraordinary is that the tariff is an equal tariff. It's right across the board. It doesn't matter the level of offending that you commit, the $50 is what is paid. And when we think about how that $50 tariff is going to play out, the bottom line is this. People who go to jail and have no income at all, they will be the ones who won't pay the levy. And the ones who don't go to jail because their offending will be at the lower end of the scale and they continue to work, or they get home detention and they continue to work, they will pay the levy. Well, how is that sending a message to anyone? A message that makes any sense to anyone at all? The bottom line is that what the government has decided is that they would like to meet one of the commitments that they made during the election campaign by creating a hugely expensive and bureaucratic system to transfer some money within the system in order to provide additional funding to certain victims' groups. Now, I'm deeply concerned about this, because the way the legislation has been framed is that it has to go to victims' organisations that provide services, and they have to be signed off by the Secretary for Justice. Wouldn't it be more efficient and more cost-effective to actually provide the money directly, do a vote line transfer to the victims, I can't even think of the name of the organisation, I'm sorry, but the victim support group, and give the victims victim support and give them the capacity for assessing where the need might lie. Because they do struggle with the work that they do, but I know that the work that they do is incredibly valuable. And I want to just highlight this with respect to a particular crime that occurred in my electorate, and that was in relation to the two bodies that were discovered in the Aranui Wainoni house. And what happened was that the victims' support were tremendous with the family of Tishalari. They went to them, they supported them, they offered them the assistance that they needed, and the family could not speak highly enough of the work that they did. But there are another set of victims when there is a serious crime, and that's the neighbourhood. And I know that the Minister knows this. And the immediate neighbours of this particular criminal offending was half a house, essentially. So there was a wall that separated the two homes, but those floorboards covered the same bit of dirt. There is no way that family is ever going to be able to live in that house ever again. In fact, I'm sure that the house will be removed from the property at some point. But the point that I'm making is that nobody sat back and said that they were an obvious victim of the crime, and yet the immediate neighbours always are. In this case, it was more obvious probably than it would have been otherwise. And I've talked to victim support about this, about whether in a situation like this it might be a good idea that victim support could sit down with the police and actually make some assessments about what support could be given very early on. The neighbours found out from the media that bodies had been dug up from under their floorboards, essentially, the night before, and that was the digging sound and the lifting sound that they could hear from their home. So I feel great sympathy for the individuals caught out in this particular case. I don't agree with some of the statements that they made publicly about the level of support that they got, and I've told them that. But I have also made the point that it's really important to think about these things across the board. And I think that's what the sort of funding that could be given to an organisation like Victim Support could do. Mr Chairman?
Oh, Mr Burrows.
Mr Chair, I move that the question be now put.
The question is